Yes, indeed. I was thinking the same. Thank you for mentioning it. Appreciate you bringing it up. Hi, it's Mason and Remy. Welcome back. That was nonsense. But for 11 years, we had to come up with something to start with, right?
Mm.
It's just a new day to try something new.
Yep.
Welcome back to the No Frequency Podcast. Remy, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's finally started to cool off here because everything that people get is a week behind actual real time.
True.
We have a hurricane coming into the area. I guess remnants of a hurricane. We always get the tropical storm part of that. But everybody's kind of like getting preparing as we do for a lot of rain that's supposedly coming to the area. But last time this happened, we got like a couple scattered showers and that was it. So I'm hoping that's kind of what happens this time. Not saying that we don't need the rain, because we do. Little complaint from our landscaping company who came and aerated the soil when it was the Sahara Desert out there. So literally did nothing. And then we had torrential downpour for like 2 days. And then all the neighbors are like getting their lawns aerated. And I was like, gosh dang, those plugs look so good. They're so deep. And mine are like,
these are things I think that only satisfy maybe your husband or an uncle. You know, maybe you remember when your dad would just like stand there and look out the door at the grass with a cup of coffee.
Yep.
I get that now.
Yeah.
Especially on a nice crisp fall morning. I would love more of that. You'll notice hoodie season has begun at Chateau de Maison. That's here in the basement of our house. But yeah, absolutely hoodie season, and I'm ready for it. It was 90 degrees since I felt like May.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we went straight from winter into 90-degree weather, and then right from 90-degree weather into a little bit more calm. Where I am here, a little more north of where you are. Thankfully, we haven't seen those torrential downpours, but we did see some rain, which was nice. And I know you're mentioning this again. We record this kind of a week in advance, so I am supposed to go to a show in St. Louis, and I know it's a show that your in-laws are going to as well. It's outdoors. It's at Busch Stadium. It's supposed to be this rain, and my wife is watching it like crazy all week. She's been on the app and like sad, and I'm like, "What's going on? What's wrong?" He said, "It's supposed to rain." I had to like look up our tickets and go, "Are we underneath anything, or are we just out there?" Because when we saw, it's Billy Joel and Sting at Busch Stadium, and we saw them at Wrigley while we were working in Chicago as well. And we were right there. Like there's the floor. And then there's a row where people can walk through. We were right on the front of that row. By the way, bad seat. Everybody walking in front of you the whole time. So we thought we got good seats, bad seat. This time we got seats up underneath something. So if you've been to a baseball game at Busch Stadium during a storm, I anticipate we'll be hanging out, maybe eating some pretzel bites. I don't know. But now you're telling me it might actually downpour. I'm not trying to say this very loud because my wife is also working from home upstairs today, so I don't want to make her upset.
It sucks though, because it's a huge show. It's probably the last time these guys are going out, and it sucks that everything is kind of dictated by the weather. And I was having a conversation with Lauren earlier about this. Like, if you're Billy Joel, you could just be like, nah, I'm good. Like, I don't want to perform in the rain. Whereas like a Chris Jansen or someone like that would be like, bring it on. I'm performing in the rain.
I'm going to do this. Yeah.
But Billy Joel and Sting are probably like, yeah, we've done that. And I don't need to play piano in a rainstorm. So I don't know. It could go 100 different ways, but I'm hoping that if they do say something, it is postponed. So it's not like this is the end, this isn't happening anymore kind of thing, and maybe it'll happen next spring. I highly doubt that it'd be able to happen. Well, maybe.
Anytime
the Cardinals aren't in the playoffs.
I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it.
We'll have to compete with that.
Yeah. Also, I don't know what's going on down the street at that dome either, but a thought. I don't have any insight on that, but you're right. These guys are in their 70s, and to be fair, I saw a TikTok lately where a woman reviewed a yacht rock concert, and of course, all these guys who did the yacht rock, Michael McDonald's of the world, are all like old guys too, and she raved about it, and it's everything we want as consumers. And now, as a resident old guy on the show, let me speak for myself because I don't want to make Remy seem older than he is, but in this video, she said they started 15 minutes early. They know we don't want to go out late. They know every light on the street is sparkling in my glasses and I can't see anything when I'm driving home. Yes, yeah, no, they know. And it was like they said it was celebrated that they started the show early. And there's a point I feel like in an artist's life, maybe it's a person's life, where you're like, I'll wait for, I don't know, young rap artists to be fashionably late and start the show like, yo, thanks for starting. And now you get older and it's like, I don't know, I picture guys like Sammy Hagar going like, hey, listen, it's gonna get dark early. None of us want to drive home in the dark. So let's go. 2:00 and the show starts. I love that. And I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of other people who have said the same. Um, but yeah, I would hope that if this was our anniversary gift to one another, like you said, probably uh, one of the last times we'll see these artists get out and do this kind of thing, and you know, big artists. And like you said, can probably make the call. And I'm waiting for them at this point. Like, do you look at it and go, maybe we just don't go to St. Louis? I
Yeah.
mean, you would definitely. Didn't Guns N' Roses do that? And people were pretty mad.
Yeah. Yeah, they
So
did.
it may not work out quite the way that we thought, but yeah, I know that the hurricane that was coming up is making its way inland as we record this, and by the time you hear it, gone.
Mhm.
Hopefully everybody's okay and everything's all right, and life is good on the backside of it. Um, but yeah, that's coming up here. I'm actually leaving tomorrow to come down there and scoop around. We're gonna stay in Edwardsville, kind of near where we used to live, and then come to the show, going to a charbroil or char steaks or charred, whatever it was called. I looked it up once. I didn't
Carnivore.
retain carnivore.
You got a
Thank
comment
you.
from somebody's
I,
in-laws that
I know
owns
somebody
it.
knows somebody who knows somebody who knows something about it. Hook up the discount. Give it a call. I don't work in the radio anymore. No money. But no, I'm kidding. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. Yeah, they said it's delicious and expensive, and I said that checks both of my wife's most frequent boxes. So, looking forward to that. But that's tomorrow. And I just got back into Central Illinois after a quick LA trip. I have never worked for like a corporation that is like, we're having an employee day, come fly in for a day and then go back to work life. You know what I mean? And embraced it as much as this company that I work for now, that's out of LA, but they have these different offices all around the world. I work for a video game company now, and they flew folks to California to have this day, this kind of employee appreciation. Hey, thanks for being here. The CEOs get up and they honor the people that have been there for 5 years, and they have a bunch of activities around there. And it was great to meet. I started at this job during the pandemic, so while everybody was working from home, everybody in the office, and then through we're noticing everybody is very much super productive and happy in their work environment and working from home. So we're not going to like require anybody to come to work. Of course, if you live in the city where the hub is, it's one thing that they're like, yeah, sure, like come in one day a week or whatever. And by the way, beautiful studio, beautiful place. I was just spending a couple days there. It probably feels, and tell me if you experienced this while you worked for the big insurance company, but a lot of shared working spaces where it's just like cubes or desks or whatever. But they were all like stand up desks. They all had two monitors and all the cool like things you need to plug in to charge whatever. And my brother, fully stocked kitchens. Not like you got to pay for stuff, but like drawers that say sweets or meats, the jerky intake. Like it was just cool. They had a nugget ice machine. It's just one of those things where I don't know if you remember, we had to fight for a coffee machine to work. At one point, I feel like we were like, guys, it's 5 a.m. There's no coffee here.
Mhm.
And then you have to bring in your own, right? Like at some points, like people, they didn't even have coffee in the break room in some places that, we would be, but just very grateful for um, the opportunity to go meet my coworkers and work at a company that is doing well and seeing success in just a different place for entertainment. If somebody had to ask me what I do, I'd probably have to say entertainment for my whole life, even though what I'm doing right now isn't exactly song and dance. I'm still helping to put on a show. And while we were there, I got to take a walk in LA. Beautiful. Only there for a minute. Saw the LA, the Hollywood sign from the car. Drove by Randy's Donuts. Obviously, these big American architecture, beautiful, beautiful landmarks. I'm being sarcastic because while I was in Spain, there was this giant, amazing Gothic, church that I took a picture in front of, and I thought to compare it to American architecture, I'd visit Randy's Donuts and stand in front of it and go, and this is home. Um, but I did. They had all these different stations. They're like, come in and meet your team, and so I got to hang out with my team and meet a bunch of folks I hadn't met yet, and meet a bunch of people I have Zoom calls with and meetings with. And one of them was I just sent Remy the caricature that was drawn of me, and that's him saving it.
That's
I
it.
want. What's it?
It's going on my desktop, and I'll pull it in here, and I will react.
I wanted you to see. And I wanted to ask, did they nail it first? So I sat down and he said, oh, nice smile. And so I said, oh, thanks.
That's not bad.
Could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse.
I feel like caricature artists have gotten better. Like this.
Yeah.
It's not as like we're gonna make fun of you anymore.
So this is funny because they had a booth, right? And there's like 4 different caricature artists there, and one of them was giving everybody like the longest neck. Like I remember I saw a guy walk out. I was like, they did you dirty, bro. You don't even have a neck like that. And he's like, yeah, I don't understand. So we were in line, like pacing it out, right? Like as we're coming up to it, going, I want that guy. I'm not going to the neck guy. But I thought he did a decent job, and it's something that I'm almost to that point in my life where it's about time I have a caricature as my profile picture on things where I can go, this is a good looking yet comical moment in my life that doesn't remind me that I'm getting older with every year. It feels good. But I just wanted to share a little bit of what that was, but it was only a day. It was very cool. I wish that more of those things were done through my life in different jobs to help me know that I'm appreciated, because I feel like the other side is very much that you're just lucky to have a job vibe, which was where I was for a long time. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on that vibe. Just wanted to share a little bit of my experience in going to LA and experiencing California for like a day. It is planned for my wife and I that we are going to, for our 10-year anniversary next year, make a West Coast trip and hit like Seattle, California, and work our way down the coast.
Nice.
The saving begins now. I also need a laptop, so we'll work on it, but we'll figure it out.
It's a beautiful area. I feel like
Really
Seattle is one of those areas that's just, I don't know, the air is different. I've only been a couple times and just for short periods of time, but saw the Space Needle and did all the things, right?
Nice.
Went down to the wharf or the fisherman's
where they throw the
fish and all that.
Yeah.
So, but I just feel like while it is kind of dreary there and they get a lot of overcast days and a lot of rain, it's just, I don't know maybe it's that fresh ocean, that Pacific Ocean
salt water
breeze or something. I don't know. But it's beautiful. You're going to need to save a lot because the entire West Coast is very expensive.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. I put in my expenses for 6 Uber rides and 1 meal. And it was like a month's, what do you call it? I want to say rent, but now I own a home. Mortgage payment. Thank you. There it is. Yeah. But it was super fun. And I understand, because even here, where I am, I'm in central Illinois, surrounded by the corn that's coming down. Believe this, LA, the breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Because that's just all floating around here right now. The corn stalks coming down, even though LA normally smog ridden. I don't think it is anymore after the pandemic. I think a lot of people moved the hell out of there during that time, because how can you afford to live there when you're not working? And a lot of people were out of work suddenly in that time. So a lot of stuff changed, but it was super fun. It was super awesome. I just wanted to share a little bit of my adventure over the last couple of days. Did you have anything going on? Anything new with you? Anything happening?
Yeah, we actually we came to Central Illinois to surprise my sister they were throwing a Notre Dame football party, and they didn't think we were coming, and we showed up, and that was fun.
Hey.
We went to one of the pumpkin patches there, and you had mentioned earlier about it being 90, 95 degrees, and it was the weirdest sensation to be at like a like an outdoor fall festival kind of
Summer
place.
fall.
It's got
Yeah.
pumpkins and all this stuff, and it's like 95 outside. It was crazy. We were
Yeah.
not there very long before everybody was just exhausted from the
The,
heat. But
the kids don't want to be in the pumpkin for the picture because they're sweating in the pumpkin, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the biggest news in my life over the past 48 hours at this point, Emerson, my oldest, who is 9, has been wanting animals for herself, and she has a good point. She said Leo has a leopard gecko and he has a betta fish, and I have no animals to care for on my own. I
Oh.
would like guinea pigs. And this started probably April or March of this year. And I was like, I'm not going to say no to this.
Mhm.
I'm going to tell her, okay, you've got an iPad. You can search up, anything guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Research, make sure that you know how to take care of these things when you get them, if you get them, all the things. And she kind of lost interest over the summer, or just didn't bring it up as much. And we had so I'm a part of like St. Louis guinea pig groups now on Facebook,
Wait.
which I never thought I would say. But one of the biggest things when you're getting these is to look for the ones that need rescued or rehomed or whatever. You go to Petco and you're just, you're getting the guinea pigs, you're adding more to the pool of, that might potentially not be cared for. Anyways.
Yeah.
On one of these groups, a pair of bonded female guinea pigs showed up. The cage, the water bottle,
Ooh.
all the things, right?
All of it.
Everything
Okay.
was included for $0. They had a daughter who got an allergy to the guinea pigs, and they couldn't keep it in the house anymore. And
Free to a good home. Love
yeah,
that.
so I reached out, and they said someone else is coming ahead of me. And I said, just let us know whenever, if they choose to take or not to take. And I was like, how are they not going to take this?
Yeah.
You're looking at probably $500 worth of things, gear, supplies, all that stuff that this person was just offering up for free. Well, they ended up giving it to the other person. So Emerson was devastated.
I'm devastated after that. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, damn, brother, I'm so sorry.
And I told her, because we've been very upfront and forward with her about this whole thing. Like, we are not the first ones. I was an hour. I think the post had been up for an hour, and I messaged the person, and already 2 people before me. So the fact that there was only one was good. And I told her, so we kind of set her up for that, and she just would not refuse to stop looking for guinea pigs. So she came home from school. I think it was Monday. There is a website called guineapigfinder.com.
Did she find it?
She found guinea pigs in Chesterfield, a bonded pair of females. Everything came with it. I think the adoption fee was $20. And so I texted this person. She said they still had them. So on Wednesday or Tuesday, we went and got those, and now they are living in her room for the moment. The cage is not. It's kind of a small cage, so we're gonna upgrade
Temporary.
that.
It's a starter. It's a starter. It's all right.
We're gonna upgrade that. So that's in the mail. That's coming soon.
Nice.
But now we are the proud owners of 2 guinea pigs, 1 leopard gecko, 1 beta, 4 reef tanks, and 2 dogs. So
That is amazing to hear. Congratulations on the expansion of the Remy zoo. Well, yeah, is it free entry first off when we come to your house? Do I have to have a membership to tour the grounds?
There's a tour fee that covers, any kind of like hay feedings that you want to do for the guinea pigs and things.
You have so much now. You might as well be your own farm. You've got animals. I heard you got plants too, right? Like you've been growing a little bit. Don't you have cornfields in your backyard, like
We
right
do.
in your backyard?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember showed me a picture of was it a watermelon vines?
Yep. Got watermelons going. I think one of them is ready. but the other ones are just getting bigger. They just keep growing. Like when we finally had rain, and I
Oh
want to
yeah.
say the biggest one is probably in the neighborhood of like 25 to 35 pounds at this point.
Oh my gosh.
It's insane to me to think that, all of us came from a seed, right? Just one
Yeah.
seed.
Yeah,
And
it
yeah,
blows my mind too. No,
um,
I'm super into plants right now, and I don't know why. Like I'm even considering taking some classes at the college about like biology, horticulture, that kind of thing. Just like I don't know why I'm super into it, but yeah, I I propagated seeds back in February, and like they popped up, and I was like, I did this, and I put the zucchini outside, and they started fruiting, and I was like, I did this. You know what I mean? Like I was playing God of this. I made pickles.
it's that moment in Castaway when he makes a fire for the first time. He's like, me, make fire,
Yes.
fire. I did
Yeah.
this, that kind of thing.
When
So
look, I have for my whole life thought that when all shit hits fan, I'm useless, but not anymore. You need cucumbers?
we're surviving
I'll
over
help you
here.
out. I'll help you out. We're eating cucumbers for dinner. It's staying cool in the summer. But tell me more about your plants. What else do you got?
So I mentioned this on a previous podcast, but I got a Monstera delicioso, which is, I think you guys might have one of
We
those.
did get a
Might have-
Monstero recently, or sorry, I say Monstero. That's a band, right?
Monstera,
Like,
yeah.
I know, isn't a band, and I never was educated. I saw their name on a lot of stuff. A lot of people like the El Monster plant. From what I heard, I'm being fishy. I'm being feces. Uh,
Feces.
I'm just being terrible at this point as a human, and I
Um,
apologize for it, but
no, you're
appreciate you
good.
sticking
So
through it.
I got that, and then I was like, "Oh, this is fun." New leaves are coming out. It's a looks like a little rolled up thing, and then it fans out one day, and you're
Yes,
like,
yeah.
I did that. That's cool." And so I got a white princess philodendron, and that has variegated leaves. And
Ooh.
then I have a couple of friends because, coincidentally enough, in the reefing community, there's a lot of people that grow plants,
Mhm.
uh, and not just of the cannabis variety, but house plants
What?
and all the different like some of these prices on these house plants are just bonkers to me. And I'm
Yep.
used to all this because I'm used to buying coral. I'm used
Yeah.
to buying tiny frags of coral like this for 40, $50. So when
Mhm.
I go to a greenhouse and I see a plant that's, small, maybe has 4 or 5 leaves and it's $30, I'm like, cool, let's go. And I think most people would be like, that's a whole lot of money for a plant. But I went on this website and I purchased my first, what would they call them? Props. Just basically a leaf, one leaf.
Oh, propagated, yeah, like a
Yeah,
little
they're just yeah, it's just like I don't even know if there's roots. I haven't opened the ball of it yet. It's all saran wrapped at the bottom, and I don't know if I should plant that or do I put it in like a hydroponics tray, or like it just feels good not knowing anything about something
it's fun.
and getting into it and learning about it. Now, mind you, I did take a dive on some of this stuff, so I got the Thai constellation, which is a monstera. It's a variegated monstera, so it's got like white and like it almost looks like a galaxy in the leaf, but it's
Oh,
still in the
cool.
monstera family. And then I got a couple other ones too, and I would need to keep these things alive because they were each. I think I spent like $80 on 3 leaves. Essentially, is what it
No,
was.
I get it. We recently got a Monstera, and so I understand because I did pay for it. It is more than just a propagated leaf for sure. It's a fully grown plant, but we had the same like where a leaf came out unrolled, and we were like, we didn't kill it,
Yeah,
yay!
yeah.
So yeah, that's our thing. And now my wife is also going down the path of like, I found this plant, and I found this plant, and I'm like, yes, excellent. Welcome to our plant era. I feel like this is where a lot of people go later. Like, I don't want to say later in life, but at some point in their life, people kind of, I don't know, maybe get fascinated with the way that plants grow and move, and continue to give life. Like finding out that if you have a cucumber on the vine and it hits the ground, that plant is going to just die by instinct
Mhm.
because it's fulfilled its life of fruiting, dropping seeds to fruit again. And now it's like my job here is done. And it just
Mhm.
dies. Much like I want to on many days.
Mhm.
Sorry, getting another phone call. Like if I answered that.
Mhm.
Um
Have
but
you ever
it's
seen
just
have you ever seen those century plants?
I think
It's
so. The ones
basically
that bloom once in 100 years kind of a
yeah,
thing?
yeah, it's an agave, plant, and when it starts to bloom, it's basically it's its last hurrah, it will die.
It's
So
done,
you
right?
might have
Yeah.
this plant for, 25 to 50 years, and then it starts to bloom, and you're like, "This thing it's dying." It's like it's sad, but it's also that's, what it was kind of built to do. I don't know. I feel like that in and of itself is beautiful, and I don't think that you can really appreciate that until you get to a certain point in your life when maybe
For
death
sure.
feels a little bit more
Mm.
within reach or something. I don't know. That's kind of
I
morbid,
feel
but
it. It's more reality. No, 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 you're right. Like, I was just gonna say what you were saying about the life cycle of this plant is 100% a metaphor for life in that it's beautiful and sad sometimes, it's just life. That's
mhm.
the same, sometimes we bloom, early, right? I know a lot of people in high school who bloomed early and have been a rotting plant ever since. Uh But I don't feel like I did. I feel like I definitely was still like this in high school and didn't until I was like 30 finally go, "Look what I can do and look at me." And now I'm a rotting plant. That's not a good but I think you know what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
we all at some point have that moment where we bloom and hopefully we can all stay blooming. Stay
yeah.
blooming, y'all. There you go. It's our first catchphrase to come out of the No Frequency podcast. Stay blooming, y'all.
Stay blooming. That's a
Uh,
shirt.
we're gonna get. I'll bet it's already a shirt. I don't know if you're watching like the Millennial Gardener or all these guys that are out
Mhm.
there because there are some amazing, um, biological botanical YouTube creators. But I want you to know that they start their videos by going, "What's growing on, gardeners?" And it's great, right? It's like you go, okay, 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 all right, I'll take it. This is good. This is on brand. But I'm definitely getting into that phase of life as well, where I appreciate that. And growing grass is something I never thought I'd take so much pride and shame in, depending because I don't have any trees in my yard, and the sun just beats down on it. It's been 90 degrees for so long, for a couple of years. It feels like so the grass does not want to grow in my yard. Um, but enough about that. Unless you have more you want to chat about the
No, I was
plants.
just gonna say, I think that to just piggyback onto the niche kind of things that we've talked about on the front part of this podcast, from houseplants to guinea pigs to reef tanks to whatever. I I don't feel any kind of anxiety anymore, when I think about the guinea pig that I got to bring home for a week over the summer, when I was a kid, I got to bring home the class pet, and my wife was like, "Well, what did it live in?" And I was like, "I think it lived in a 20-gallon aquarium."
You put
And
like wood
now
chips down, right?
yeah, you put wood chips down in a 20-gallon aquarium is what this thing lives in. And now you go out there and there's scientific evidence that shows that guinea pigs need to be in a 4 by 2 foot uh, container that's fenced. That's not it. You know, it's it's open to the air. All of these things contribute to the healthy lifestyle of a guinea pig now. And you're kind of frowned upon if you put them in anything smaller than that.
Mm,
Uh, but the niche of anything is searchable now. So I got those leaves in the mail. What do I do next? Well, I go to Google and I go, what do I do next with these? And it's gonna tell me. Like it's gonna
yeah.
tell me, what's the mix of the soil need to be? What humidity do I need to have these in? How often do I need to be watering them? It's all readily available now. And that's not something that, if there's Gen Zers listening to this, they'll be like, well,
Mhm.
I don't know what you're talking about because I could just look up anything that I wanted ever. And,
Always.
when I wanted guinea pigs as a kid, I had to go to the pet store and ask questions, physically go there or physically go to a person that was keeping them successfully. It's crazy how all of these niches can live in today's world because
Yeah.
you're just a search away from becoming an expert at anything.
Yeah,
Any
100%. The meme of "I know kung fu" falls from The Matrix falls like right on the point, because it's the same for me with when I look at what I'm growing in the yard as far as vegetables. When it looks at how to best get grass seed to take in my yard, I did the same thing. You know more about video editing from classes and life experience than ever. And there were points in our career where I would go, I could ask Remy this, but I could also just put that question in YouTube and watch someone else tell me. And that's where we are in this world where everything is at your fingertips. First, I was going to reply with, okay, boomer, to everything you were saying, which, by the way, I've also heard is now, okay, millennial,
Yeah, yeah.
because time just keeps coming, y'all.
Mhm.
Um, but you're right. There was encyclopedias and research and experts in things in the past, and now that it's documented, everyone is an expert, even if you're not. Those people are on TV and stuff too. But now I have my newest rabbit hole: concrete. I want to start making concrete. I want to start working with concrete. I want to start putting concrete in my yard. I want to start laying concrete. I want to start pouring slabs and floating. I'm going to get in too deep. I'm not made for that. But I never thought I was made for landscaping, which I did. I made a retaining wall. I never thought I was one for gardening. I got gardens. Uh, I'm learning more about myself. And now it's like these soft hands, they crave work. Uh,
Show me them calluses when you get them, boy.
No, I don't know if I'll go that far. But when I was like, I'm watching videos about dry pour concrete versus wet pour, and I'm like, why would you dry pour? That seems stupid. Like, I'm just like going through all
Yeah.
this, and now I'm like, I want to put a step in the backyard. I want to do a little paper patio thing. I've got all these. I know I'm getting in over my head. And when you said I spent a couple, maybe $100 to $200 on these little plants, brother, I swear I was just trying to grow cucumbers. And the amount of money I spent trying to grow cucumbers is a lifetime supply of cucumbers from the
Yeah.
store. It doesn't make sense on some days, but that's not what it's about, right? What I've found is in the morning, making it part of my cycle to go outside and enjoy the peace, and water some plants, gather my thoughts, instead of immediately going, oh, Twitter, or
Mhm.
something along, which is where I have been and had been for so long. But
2
that's
things.
mhm.
2 things to piggyback on your concrete. I've had that same thought, but in a different way. I've always been fascinated by, for lack of a better term, concrete art, or
Mhm.
the like flourishes, the gargoyles, the things that you see on buildings, and how
Yeah.
we as an American society have lost all of that. It's
Oh,
gone.
yeah.
Every building is like a cookie cutter thing. Some of the buildings in Chicago still have a lot of those cool like elements
Mhm.
on the
Architecture, they called it.
architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
architecture. What is it? Would it be like architectural
Modernism.
art or
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm
concrete or something?
100% with you, because it's
You like
way more
fill a
about the budget and
you like
mhm.
fill a mold, and then you kind of chip away at it or smooth it out in parts. I don't know why
Yeah,
that
they
to
called it
me
no,
is,
no, no, it's a stonework,
yeah.
masonry.
That's you. I always thought masonry was just laying bricks, but
I mean, it's stonework, I guess, but I'm with you. No, 100%. Like, whether have we looked at stone poured uh um bird feeders and stuff? Like, did we find a frog that's sitting in like the lotus pose or whatever, and we're like, this is adorable? Maybe, but not for the yard. But I think about that stuff, and now, like, you're right. Like, that is art. There is art that is lost. I was just in LA. They had a building. It looked like the square building, but it had some ribbons of concrete through it. And it's
mhm,
like, okay, someone's trying to do something different there.
yeah.
And now, like, yeah, you're right. I think unless you're in like Dubai, right, you don't see art in buildings.
Mhm,
It's more budgets and how far can we go? And then, oh, we ran out of money. Never mind. Building dead.
yeah.
No one work here.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
that might be a hobby that I explore at some point when I have some free time in my life, which will be a while from now, but I don't think concrete's going anywhere.
Well,
The
hey, that's first off a very funny joke. But second, I don't know why I was pricing out magnesium floats the other day when I've never touched concrete in my life. But I love that we're in that world where we can do anything.
Yeah.
And it's all at our fingertips. And speaking of, is a good transition into um having more Mason and Remy at your fingertips.
Mm.
Sorry.
Nasty. That's
Now and get your rubber gloves because it might get a little nasty. Okay. No, I'm kidding. A lot of people have asked us
Liddy's house.
about
No, it's not, whoop, slipped.
what. No,
Damn it. It's one of those 1,000 bottles of baby oil.
I don't. We could start a whole like branch here that we would spend 2 hours on because there are so many questions and yet so many answers at the same time.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about people who would come to us and said, "Hey, are you guys going to actually put this podcast on a podcast platform?" I was kind of against the idea in the beginning, and I'll give you my thoughts on it, and I kind of want to share a bit of a state of our podcast too, because this is something we talk about often. And when I watch back some of the episodes we've already had, we've established our history here. Now, anybody who joins in on this podcast can go back and learn everything about us. We had to put everything kind of here when we recapped our eras so that if anybody came into this podcast after we were a radio show, they would know what we were or who we were. So this podcast is in its infancy, I think, still barely cracking the double digits on episodes as far as weeks. We've only done this for a few months. However, me and this guy have kind of done this for a decade plus. So but for different companies. And then when you do that, it floats around. Like you go from one company to another. Suddenly 6 years of your life just doesn't exist. Kind of. That's why we had to do this as a separate thing. And as we built up our YouTube channel back into a position to become a YouTube partner, which we have now done, thank you so much. Although no paydays, and that's okay. We're not here for that. But it's a starting point for us to kind of go, this is the home for Mason and Remy on the YouTube channel. We are such a visual group of creators in that we had so much stuff to show. Audio only didn't make sense to me. And now that we've hit that milestone of being YouTube partners now, we can start to expand and bring people back to home, which will be the Mason and Remy YouTube. If you go to masonandremy.com, it brings you to our YouTube channel. But we had a lot of requests for folks to go to other podcast platforms. And how do you do that? You have to kind of select a place to feed all the what's called the RSS feed, right? And even I don't really know what that is, but I know once you have one, it can feed all the others, right? So if we have, say, a Spotify podcast, it can then be found on all these different platforms. We just needed to choose one. And we had previously, hell, half of these platforms that the Spotify feeds to were owned by people who employed us. You know what I mean? Like there were so many different podcast outlets. And by the way, we never saw any kickback from any of that. It was just added content for their platforms that they put commercials on that we would spend time doing every day and go, why are we investing in this? Why are we, spending so much time on this? Well, now that we've checked the box of getting YouTube to be a partner, we can start going to other platforms now. And I'm happy to say that we have uploaded the first episode of our podcast and the rest of them will come to Spotify, which will then in turn over time feed the other. So if you use Apple for your podcasts or you go to some other platform, you should be able to search Mason and Remy and find the No Frequency podcast regularly. If you're one of those folks who said, I can't just keep the YouTube open, I understand. Now, I've also understood that we're doing a video podcast here. Spotify has that as an option. And you, as a Spotify consumer, have an option to, when minimizing the app, have the audio continue to play. Just want to point out that feature because I have never used Spotify. Hi, my name's Mason, and since high school, I doubled down on radio being my future. I chose not to dive into Spotify, and I had that. Remember that app that our company had, the company that we both went to work for, and it was like they gave us a premium. Like, you guys have a premium account, but they didn't have the features to do all the things that Spotify did, like create intuitive playlists that would want. It was like a cheaper version of Spotify. Where you could also find our podcasts, and nobody used it. Arguably, nobody does still use it for what it was designed for because Spotify is a better platform, right? So I just wanted to take a little bit of time here to kind of give a state of the podcast and kind of say, hey, we're expanding to the other platforms. You should be able to find us in auditory only form if that is something that you wish to have. Like I said, that's a feature in Spotify. You may have to click a couple options. But for those who are asking us, we're making that happen. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
Um,
I think they were so visual in the first 9 to 10 episodes anyway. I mean, we shared so many different videos and things like that. So I don't know, when I'm thinking about listening to an audio podcast, an audio only podcast, and they also do a video version and they're talking about the video that's playing in the
Something they're
moment,
looking at.
you know, it's
Mhm.
it's like, oh crap, I got to go back when I get home or whenever I'm not at the gym and watch this, or, you know,
Yeah.
or driving your car or whatever the case may be. So but I think from at least this point forward, it won't be as video heavy. There will be some videos here and there, but
Yeah.
not as heavy into that. So you can get away with listening to the audio version.
Of the No Frequency podcast. No problem, right? This is what one piece of content that we are doing. We've talked a little bit about the baby steps towards like a Friday party jam, right? That might be a separate piece of content that might not go to Spotify. It's not. That's not what it's for. You know what I mean? For that, you come to YouTube to watch the video. If it is a video, again, baby steps. We're just slowly but surely figuring it out one by one. But I wanted to provide just a little bit of an update for folks who have been sticking with us for this amount of time and wondering about it. As I look at the previous episodes, I like that you and I are able to talk about these different things. We've shared our experiences, we've shared our past. I don't want to continue to just harp on an industry that we worked in and just be disgruntled ex-employees, you know what I mean, out here venting their frustrations. Although we are and have. Uh, See our library of content at this point if you think it's unwarranted. Um, but moving forward, yeah, like you said, it might not be that heavy as to what we talk about here. Um, and with that, we can dive into some other topics, some things that we wanted to chat about here. Something that somebody had brought up a while back was that Remy was in a music video for an artist that we were very close to. I mean, Remy's from Illinois. I live in Illinois, right? Illinois, St. Louis, right on the border. Chicago, obviously, we have big Illinois ties. So when an artist came out of Illinois and started to blow up at country radio, we were on board. And maybe it's the hyper local love for Brett Eldredge that made his fans kind of like more rabid in this Illinois Missouri corridor of the world in the Midwest. Um, but Remy got an opportunity to be in a Brett Eldredge music video. And we're going to chat a little bit about what it's like to be on a set in this episode. Because we both kind of experienced that in a different way. I've talked a little bit about Nashville, but Remy spent an entire day, and this was at, and correct me if I'm wrong, this was at Wrigley, right? You shot this music video at Wrigley Field with Brett Eldredge.
You are
Talk a little bit
correct.
about
Yeah. So we got a random, I don't know if you remember this, but we got a random email. I think it was the morning that they were going to be shooting, or maybe the day before. But it was very last minute, and it was from our boss, and it was a forwarded message from the label that Brett was on at the time. He may still be on the same label. I don't know, but they were like, we need extras for a music video that we're going to be shooting at Wrigley Field. You can run a contest to have listeners be a part of this or something to that extent. And I was like, can we be in it? And they were like, yes. So I volunteered as tribute and went. I think I had to leave in the middle of the show, but we had also given this away to probably 10 to 15 listeners. So show up to Wrigley Field at, I don't know, 8:30 in the morning or something like that.
it. Yeah.
We get shoved into a room. We're literally sitting in this room. Nobody has any explanation for us until an hour or two of us just sitting there in our, in our clothes, in our street clothes.
Yeah,
And
because you just showed up to Wrigley and nobody
yeah,
nobody gave any instructions. They just said, "Be there at this time. You'll be in the video."
yes, we're in the bowels of Wrigley Field at this point in some random office, and there's 15 to 20 of us, and then a producer, director or somebody comes in, and they go, "Okay, we're gonna need fans, we're gonna need umpires, we're gonna need photojournalists." And they just started going around the room. They were like, "You'd be a good fan. You're a fan. You're a fan." I was like, if I'm a fan, I'm just a part of a crowd. So I really hope that I get something else. And they were like, "You photojournalist." And I was like, yes, yes. So I was one of 3 of the photojournalists in this music video. So I have, I think there's 13 different spots in this music video. Want to be that song,
Okay.
that you can see me, and we'll point those out in a second here. But yeah, well, let's just I'll play, and I'll kind of skip around this video, and
Yeah, we can chat a little bit about it because I
commentate.
know I know that you have, I mean, obviously you have always been like the video guy, and when it came to content, you always had a nice camera. My man's correct me if I'm wrong, my man's a Canon guy. He is uh when it comes to shot composition, when it comes to lighting, I know you even know how to do makeup when it comes to, getting camera ready. This is your guy.
Yeah.
He's not only going to make you look good, he'll make you sound good. He's going to make your video look good. But what is it when he is playing a photojournalist? Oh, by the way, we also did not mention that this video is set in the 1920s,
Yeah.
right? Like it's set in the early 1900s. So he's not out there with like when you say photojournalist at a baseball game, it may not be exactly what you think. Because this video was set in the past.
I'm
So
gonna
he's a
I'm gonna play the video, but I'm not gonna play the sound.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great because now I don't want to lose this YouTube partner thing we've got going on here. But we can show a bit of it and we can comment. I think that falls under the reaction. Are these people that we knew, or were these the actor and actress they selected?
These are actual like paid actors. So there's a whole paid section of actors, and there's the extras. And
Yep.
we were very much the extras of this. And I can kind of get into some details on how we felt like underlings while we were there, for this 9-hour day or however long it took us to shoot this. But
Yeah.
yeah,
The whole day.
these are
Go
just
ahead.
a couple of the kid actors. This is supposed to be a young Brett Eldredge and his
Love
love
interest.
interest. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And while this is going on, by the way, there are two different kinds of like actors when you're in the SAG-AFTRA. You got lines or you don't got lines. And
Mhm.
if you got words, you're getting paid, you're getting royalties, you're getting money off of that. And if you don't got lines, you're an extra and you're probably fighting to get into the union or something like that. But so here we are. And by the way, Brett, a huge Cubs fan. Like I remember videos of drunk Brett and Rizzo singing. You remember that? Remember that
Yeah. Yep.
when that happened? We shared that video when it went out. I remember. So here we are. Now we're in the flashback scene. And by the way, a big shout out to the Cubs for being up for this. Knowing Brett Eldredge is a big fan, letting him shoot a music video there with the iconic sign and his iconic smoky eyes. He's a beautiful man.
He was in a different spot in his career during this shoot. And he's changed a lot. We can get into that afterwards too. But this was like being all the black and white, like sepia tone stuff was all that. Obviously, that was all done in post. So you can see that there's like, it looks like there's a crowd behind him. There was nobody. The entire field was empty. There was probably the 20 actors or the 20 extras that filled in gaps, and you'll see that coming up. But it's just always fun to see. Like all of that background is fake.
I was going to say,
None of
making
that is
things,
real.
putting a sepia and a black and white also helps to cover up the special effects that you're working on. Watch a Marvel movie. You'll see it.
Yeah.
It's all in there. Also very cool that this is a Cardinals versus Cubs game. And for us, that was a huge deal because we
Yeah.
had spent 5 years in St. Louis and spent a few years in Chicago. Is
So
this it? This is it. There he is right there.
one of my
There he
first
is right there on the left.
with the O face, because I'm just so mesmerized at the fact that Brett Eldredge just hit a bomb.
But
Grand
let's
slam.
talk about the wardrobe, the tie, the big tie, the hat, right? Like you are 100% photojournalist. Did you have a press thing in
I
in the
didn't. I didn't.
man?
That would have been nice.
That's all right. Historical inaccuracies, but we won't fault anybody for it. It's not your fault. Look at the big screen up there. How did they edit that giant screen out while they were shooting at Wrigley?
And they had a really cool like camera on a tricycle almost, that was following him around.
Oh, okay. To get these shots that
Yeah.
look all from the low angle with the big background of the seats behind him.
All right.
There he is. There he
So-
is.
So I'm gonna back that up for a second. Mason
Back
set
that
this
thing.
up as like, I know what I'm doing when I'm shooting a camera, right? This is not where you would put your eyes this is because I wanted to be in the shot and I wanted.
But it is if you want to get your eyes seen. Hey, yeah, that's a smart man right there. This guy's not dumb. I love that.
So
Yeah,
there's me, creepy, and there's another one where they're like making out, and I'm like all taking photos of them making out.
in the bushes in their window 30
Yeah,
years later.
just
Ooh.
sneaking in there, looking like what's going on.
Yeah, get the picture, buddy. You know what? That's what I always loved about you is it
Look
didn't
at
matter what was happening. Get
there's
it.
me in the background.
This is kind of one of those cool moments where I don't know if you've ever shown your kids this video, but like I feel like when we are 60, 70, 80, these are the things we're going to bring out.
Yeah,
I was on an episode of Nashville. Yeah, right?
They
Like,
didn't have any color in this.
yeah, but that looks great though. This is a cool moment. And not only has Brett Eldredge always been amazing, and if you haven't seen it yet, back when he was just making his debut, he had the what was the thing we had at the country fest the
Yeah,
one year?
the balls one. I forget what it was called.
It is
It's like a shake weight, but it's the one with
butt
the balls
balls.
on it. Yeah.
But I don't know how to put it any better than it's a shake weight but balls. Um but I think that nails it actually. Free Flexor is what it was
Yeah,
called.
yeah.
And the only reason I know that is because I just was on the Mason and Remy YouTube channel and searched Brett Eldredge and found that video,
Yep.
which you can too now that we have completely unlocked the vaults and made most of our videos public again. A
Yeah, I
lot of
think
them have been private for a long time.
we featured I put that in when we were talking about our time at CMA Fest and all the things that we would have artists do that weren't just answering questions but getting extra content. I think Brett has taken a cue from all the success that he has had in the Christmas music scene and has just gone full force that way. I don't think he's put out an album in years, like a country album, but he's
Yeah, no,
put
you
out
just
multiple Christmas albums at this
I was
point.
gonna say, yeah, you just keep re-releasing the Christmas album with a new track every year, and it's
Mhm.
probably fine. But he always kind of had that crooner thing about him, right? Like, dude could
Yeah.
be a Buble if he wanted to be and just sing the classics, the standards, a little Sinatra, a
We
little
went
whiskey.
to we went to a show. I got a chance to see him last year on the Glow tour. It was
Mm.
at the Fox Theater, and it was good for about like the first half. And through the second half, you're like, man, these are all just Christmas songs, man.
Is he didn't do any and not even want to be that song or
No, it's all a Christmas show. And it's great for like, man, it just fits so well in those Christmas specials they do on like NBC every year, like the one or
yeah.
two songs from Brett Eldredge that are, very Frank Sinatra-esque. But
Mhm.
I think he had some mental stuff that he even talked about
Oh,
this
really?
on his Instagram, going through some anxiety, depression stuff, mental health awareness things, and he kind of dropped off a little bit. And I think he talked about, maybe I'm putting words into his mouth, but he talked about alcohol being one of those kind of forces. And I mean, let's be honest, in the beginning when we first met him, it it wasn't rare to see him, inebriated.
Mhm. Yeah,
That was
well,
like
for
that
any
was
of
kind of
us
part of
really.
yeah, it was kind of part of his personality at the time, and you knew that you're gonna have a fun time with him, and he was super fun. And like that Rizzo video of him and Rizzo on the piano, just like having a good time, and
Mhm.
that was kind of. But I think that led him down a path. And if you follow him on Instagram, he's become very inward thinking now, and it's
Oh,
it's it's more of I don't want to say broody, but
introspective perhaps?
introspective. Yeah, I think of like an Edward Cullen kind of like
Oh.
when I'm going to say things, they are going to mean something now.
I like that. I
So
like that because I look back on youth in many ways as like that was my time to be loud and dumb. You know what I mean? The older
yeah,
I get, the more I relate to if I'm going to say something, I want it to mean something. Um, because I've said a lot of things and they don't mean shit. Like, trust me, I've looked back at them. I've lived them and I've been like, what a waste. Um, but I think that's great and I'm happy for him. I got to say the same. Like I don't drink a lot anymore. It hurts. It's really surprising that it's been legal as long as it is. as it has, like, for people to literally somehow degrade their body in different ways with this poison, this toxins, these kind of things. Look, I'm all for putting toxin in your bodies. Explore your mind. But it seems weird that some things are and some things aren't legal, and that alcohol is somehow seen as you need to do this to have a good time. But I also understand the pressure of people looking at you and how a drink kind of helps. And when you do that 200 nights a year, yeah, it can form a problem. So I'm happy to hear. I haven't caught up on him, but I'm happy to hear that he's doing a little more inward looking,
Yeah.
because caring too much about that outward thing can lead to a lot of that other stuff.
Yeah.
It's tough, man.
As far as the music video goes, I think, we had turned that into a bit on the air where, you can see my hand, and that counted as a part of the
Yeah,
music video. I counted 13 times. We posted that up on a blog. I posted screenshots, and then of course, it made fun of that for that on the air, which is all part of the whole storyline. So I think when you're looking at an opportunity like that where it's an extra role, you may or may not even make the end cut, you really play that up on the air for the content portion of that. And I think that it definitely played its course, because when that song would play on the air, I'd be like,
that's my song.
Did you guys see me in the music video for that? We shot that every field. It was like a whole thing, and I
Every
really
time.
played that up. Yeah, so.
It was fun though, because I remember it. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, it played into the Nashville kind of thing too, in that Remy just wanted to be on TV. Remy was auditioning to be on all these shows and never made it, and would never make it. Like, it's the same thing with the Blue Angels. Like, he just every year wanted to, and eventually, and this was a great. I think it might have been Steve, who one of our former program directors, bless your heart, love you, Steve, who said, make it the storyline, and one day when he does, it'll be amazing. And so, that really helped us get through, like, where I know that you were initially the one that went after the Nashville thing, and this was real. Like, that was real, right? Like, you wanted that, and then I ended up on it, and that probably didn't feel great. And unfortunately, I was like, fuck yeah, I need this. You know what I mean? And here you are. But we got not only that great storyline, but you got this out of it. And who knows what's good or bad is a good thing to look at. I'm going to misquote this. I feel like it's a Chinese proverb. It's good luck, bad luck. Who knows? And it's the old man lost his horse. And I'm not sure if you've like heard the story, but it's like the old man lost his horse. You think I'm in trouble. The old man goes, who knows what's good or bad? Who am I to know? The next week, sure, it was harder to get places, but the horse came back with 4 more horses. They had started a little pride, or whatever you want to call a pack of horses, and they come back. And while the guy's getting the horses, his son falls off and breaks his arm. Who knows what's good or bad? You know what I mean? This sucks, but at least you're still alive. Next week, somebody shows up and says, we're taking everybody's kids off to war. Oh, your son has a broken arm. He can stay.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what's good or bad? Who am I to say? You know what I mean? And this is kind of the notion of this. They called it, I think, a Chinese parable, or I'm not sure exactly. Thank you, Google, for not letting me ruin that totally. But I've tried to adopt that. When shit breaks now, instead of me going, getting all super mad, I'll go, let's figure it out. It's kind of just what you have to do now. Sure. Do I still yell and get mad when things happen? Of course, I'm an imperfect human, and I can admit that. But I try to think of those moments and go, who knows what's good or bad? Remy not getting on Nashville meant that he could get in a Brett Eldredge video. And me getting on Nashville meant I had to pay more union dues every year. So you're lucky, and I dove on that grenade for you. But it's just union stuff. But I think that's kind of a cool story arc for you, because it's kind of true in that you wanted to, you always had that ambition to, whether it was going to be on local news to provide updates on like what's going on in the scene, or you wanted to be on Dancing with the Stars because my man can dance and there's still time. For you to be the washed up radio guy that gets eliminated in the first week because nobody knows who they are. And then you too can go like,
you can be a washed up radio guy and still win the show. Apparently,
Shots shots fired. And I was also gonna say I am a washed up radio guy, so what do I know? But yeah, the possibilities are endless, and they only end when you let them, right? And that's something that maybe folks can think about a little bit when it comes to how you react to things, you know? Because if Remy got mad and said, "That's it, I'm out of here," you know, might not have played out the way that it did. So be open to that stuff, I guess.
Yeah. I've always been a firm believer in law of attraction kind of stuff too. So if you if you continually set your mind or set that, that point to a goal that you have for Blue Angels or TV or, whatever it was in the span of our years together, people root for you. The more energy you have put behind something, the better the chances are of that happening. And while I never made it to like national TV or anything like that, who knows? Maybe that's still in my future in some capacity. I don't know. But you're right. It's good luck, bad luck. Who knows? So
It's arguable to say that you have been seen in videos that have more viewers than television at this point. When I look at, say, nobody knows that's you in the T-Rex costume in the Chicago T-Rex YouTube channel. Nobody knows. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Those millions of views get more these days when they point out, think about album sales or who's watching American Idol. Like I remember when it was 14 million people and now it's like 3 million. Wow. And I can get, not sorry, I shouldn't say I can. Someone on YouTube can get more than that in a day when they review an episode of a new Disney Plus show. You know what I mean? Like
yep,
life is weird right now that like the show can be seen by this many people, but content about the show might be seen by this many people. So everything that we thought was normal isn't anymore, and it's still evolving and changing. Artists can go on a live stream of one of these guys who are on Twitch and be seen by more people in a day than their albums reach. These streamers are making more money than artists who are putting records and tours together, because all of us are here doing what you and I are doing, sitting at home instead of going places and doing these things. Like I just read the Deadpool and Wolverine movie is taken out of theaters and is going to a bunch of different streaming platforms. That's literally a Disney movie, but Disney's not dumb. They're going, why limit it to just our platform? Let everybody rent it. You know what I mean?
mhm,
And then they can go back and swim in their Scrooge McDuck vaults full of money,
yeah,
and hopefully make a sequel because God, that movie was good.
yeah. Tell me any terrestrial radio personality that's making hundreds of millions of dollars, but I can tell you at least 10 to 15 podcasters that are making that much money.
Hmm.
And then they were just like regular ass, some of them were just regular ass people. And then they started a podcast that kind of took off. I look at like, Joe Rogan wasn't necessarily a regular ass person. He had done TV shows and all that and comedy and all that kind of stuff beforehand. But like I think her name is Alex Earl with the Call Her Daddy podcast. I think she was just a normal person. Barstool has really stepped up their game when it comes to finding those prickly kind of personalities that
Yeah,
that get under your skin a
they're
little
not
bit.
afraid to let people say things.
Yeah, but like I mean, you can make hundreds of millions of dollars in the podcast realm, or you can make 70 grand in market too.
Mm.
It's I mean, you see where this is going, and it blows my mind that like the upper levels of radio decision makers have not like there's just a disconnect. It's just not there. Um so yeah, that's my one radio rant for this
I was thinking, as I watch a lot of our stuff, I'd love to get, and don't take this the wrong way. I'd love to get away from that. I'd love for us to be not a podcast about radio anymore and just be, it's Mason and Remy's podcast where we talk about different stuff like plants or I don't know, podcasts or a trip to LA or new family members. You know what I mean? Guinea pigs and life experiences. Things that maybe you can hear and go, oh, I relate to that. You know what I mean? That was the goal of what we were doing when I look back on an episode when we talk about the emotion, the connection, the things that people can relate to when you are feeling a certain way, whether it's laughter or like, introspective thoughts about your own existence in this weird multiverse. I'm just kidding. But whatever that is, that carries more weight than going, uh, hey, artist, tell me about the songwriting process. And that's kind of what we wanted to do. But then the people who helped us design that plan ended up moving to other projects, and more people came in on us. And the way we were being successful in the genre we were in, there wasn't anybody really doing that stuff. So we had to lean into it more to get where we could to gain more favor, I guess, in our show. So we played ball, but looking back now, I wish didn't have to. I wish that we could have kept making those emotional connections and not have to make viral videos featuring whatever just came out of Nashville this week. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And putting great creative ideas into artists that aren't even around anymore. You know, no offense to artists that rode up and down on the elevator with us,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't heard any songs lately. No offense to these guys who were in music videos with us. I like Christmas too. But it's just, you know, we went out there and we kind of expended a lot of our creativity on this in this world that we weren't really a part of. And I think where we want to go from here is giving you that we couldn't give you. The authenticity of who we are, the people that we talk to have always noted it, that we're not people who are going to, like, I don't know, lack of a better term, bullshit you or make you think we're somebody we're not, because, you know, I like Star Wars and he likes coral reefs, and it's who we are. And we didn't get to show you that while we were on the air a lot together, because we were worried about the demographics of the companies and the marketing and all the other stuff. None of that's here anymore. So if you have thoughts, we want to hear them. If you you know, have feedback, or, you know, like the number of folks who are like, hey, I'd like to see this on Spotify. Okay, give us a little bit of time. We'll work on it. You know, we both have full-time jobs and families, and that kind of stuff is going to take, obviously, priority until you make us so successful that we don't have to do that anymore. I'm just kidding. It's not totally on you, but it is kind of on you.
We did have a. Do you remember Christina Cage?
I saw her comment. Very
She
kind.
had commented, and I think she saw one of the reels that we had posted, and, you know, kind of followed the breadcrumbs to the actual podcast. So I think that for the future, I should probably put out some more of those reels as we get going here, and open to suggestions. My dad texted this morning and he said, hey, podcast sounds great. Maybe you guys should have guests on. And I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
Which way are we going? Which like what is the guest going to be providing? You know, that isn't an intern or someone that we worked with in the past. So
yeah. You could go a couple of ways with that. And first off, tell your dad I said hello. And second, most people who are going, hey, I'm available for a podcast, have something to promote, right? Like they're pushing something, and
Yeah.
they're going to be like, hey, I'm here to talk about whatever, which was the same as the artists who were like, I want to talk about the music, but you're like, but you're in a scandal right now. Nobody cares about the music.
Yeah.
Case in point, Blake Shelton, Miranda Lambert.
Hell
What do you
yeah.
mean we can't ask him about that?
Yeah.
Why do this?
I will never forget that moment. I will never. It was it Country Thunder, I think is
Yeah.
the event.
Yeah,
And
it was.
Blake and Miranda had just announced divorce, and Blake was performing that night at Country Thunder.
Oh,
And
we were like, hell yeah, this is the interview.
as we're getting on the bus, the rep said, hey, don't ask about Miranda or any of the. I don't even think she said that. I think she just said, hey, don't ask about any of the stuff.
They say,
that's going on right
hey,
now.
let's focus on the music. Yeah.
Let's focus on the music. Yeah.
Yeah. And go, okay.
So you take the hint and you go, okay, well, how can I maybe reword a question so that he goes into it? I don't think he really ever did, but yeah, that was an opportunity for him to say something about that, but shied away from it.
And I got to tell you that it's like that in every opportunity when there is a possibility that you might get that piece of juice. When you're backstage with Taylor Swift asking about little things, when you're talking to Blake Shelton about his big scandal, or when I'm asking about cicadas to Vince Gill, when you take that risk, then they go, okay, well, we can't have these guys do that again. So you
Yeah.
either play ball and then you're an industry plant, or you actually go in and do the work and go, you know what? I don't care what the record industry thinks. And then you're cast out.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part.
Think what you want about Charlemagne the God, but he's one of those DJs that when you go into that room that he's gonna ask you the question.
Yep.
And if he's not gonna be allowed to ask the question, he doesn't want the interview. And
Mhm.
I think that's the kind of power that's the kind of chair you need to be sitting in if you want that. Now, country music is a whole different beast. The country music is very like family and God and country, and we don't pry into people's personal lives. We just don't do it. But they're all celebrities, and they're all putting their lives out there for everybody to see. So if you're going to do that, then there's going to be questions about who was the girl Jason Aldean was kissing on that one night that
Mhm.
wasn't his wife.
Mhm.
Those are questions that need to be asked because you've put yourself out there. If you didn't want that, don't put yourself out there.
Yeah,
Don't be a celebrity.
you can play the "we're good people, we don't talk about that," but yes, you do. Listen, I've gone to church, and I've been in the house after church.
Yeah.
Nobody's stupid here. We all are real humans, and we have real questions for sure. So yeah, you can either play ball or you can be the outcast that doesn't play ball, and then you don't get invited to the game. You know
Mm,
what I mean? And that's kind of how the clique of Nashville and really the music industry, radio, right? Like all of that stuff works together. Play ball or hit the road. And I'm a fan of Charlemagne for that, because that is a hard, you have to really dig your heels in. As a former donkey of the day, by the way, don't forget, don't forget Charlemagne has roasted me for the tattoo that I got. Um, but we were also once coworkers together. You know what I mean? And I respect that. So I am mad about being donkey of the day. He's right. It was a dumb decision, but also Charlemagne said my name.
That's true.
So that's the same thing as every artist is doing when some shit goes down, right? Like when, I mean, unless you're Jimmy Allen, but it's a different story depending on the controversy. Michael Ray has a weed pen and he goes through the drive-through, gets pulled over. That's cute. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
adorable.
Yeah.
I love Michael Ray for that. Um, Morgan Wallen drops an N-bomb at a fight on somebody. Okay, that's not so cute. But the public doesn't seem to mind it so much. And that's not my opinion. Check album sales, tour sales. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that can happen in a career. I've talked about that disaster marketing in previous podcasts where, wow, something can suddenly go wrong and yet give you so much attention to your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Frisella. So in these moments, who knows what's good or bad?
Yep.
Pausing for effect.
Yep.
So where we are in our journey and where everybody else is, we should all hold judgment, folks, for yet ye be judged. But I'm trailing off here on the back end of our podcast as we hit the end of some of the stuff we were going to talk about. So now that our Eras tour is over, we've gone through all the different content we've created. We like moving forward in bringing the subjects that we want to talk about. If you have any questions or anything else you want to chat about or want us to answer or get thoughts on or talk about, yeah, feel free. Like Remy was saying about those reels. And by the way, you work hard on this. I want everybody to know that anything that you see visually is has always been this guy's doing. And like I said in this podcast earlier, anything I've done is minuscule in comparison and with a drop of the talent that's in this body over here. So that's all him. When this video comes out, he did that. When the reels come out, he did that. So if I can help, let me know. I have timestamps. I'm putting timestamps now. I have these ideas too, where like the Taylor Swift story is a breakout video, or Garth Brooks. The story we had about Garth Brooks could be a breakout video. And as we're starting this new kind of format of not talking about our past, but still kind of having new topics and things, definitely looking for your input on that as well as someone who is consuming this podcast. Because as the two guys who are making it, we care.
For
We
sure.
appreciate
Yeah.
you listening.
Just anything that in the comment section. You can find us on Instagram at Mason and Remy, or at Remy Radio, at Mason Show. either one of those will do. And I'm, pretty much on that throughout the day, checking messages and things like that. So if you have any suggestions, please let us know. That would be awesome. Like you said, I think it makes me feel a little bit more comfortable that, like, when you say this is in its infancy and that, the story is out there and the story from our point of view is out there. And if anybody is just coming to this podcast for the first time and they don't know who we are, or maybe they entered in the second St. Louis phase that we were in, they don't know about the first St. Louis or even Bloomington or Chicago or any of that, then you can go back to the first episode and kind of get a download on who we are and why we are this way. So I think it's a cool, it's a neat little like reference of content that we've posted, and now where do we go from here?
Yeah, and the sky's the limit. Anything's possible, especially with everything especially if I can go on YouTube and learn Kung Fu. Maybe we're sparring in our next video, but it's possible. I would die. You would snap me like a twig. You are in such good shape, or at least better shape than me, which is a lot of people. So I appreciate, your hard work on this. I appreciate everybody's ears and the time you've spent, not only in the past listening to us, but here now. I hope that there's some enjoyment. I hope that if there's anything, maybe we vibe on plants. Maybe you got the guinea pig hack, whatever that is. Let us know. Appreciate you listening. We'll wrap this episode. And hopefully catch you in the next one. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button on whatever it is. I don't know. I think it's free. It should be free. I'm not getting paid for it. It better be free. At this point, you're not getting paid, right? So that's you didn't say no.
No payments are happening.
Okay, good. We'll talk afterwards more about it. Thank you again for watching. I appreciate it. Have a great one. We'll see you next time.
See ya.